I've just seen that Heidi said she's not on Facebook, so she wouldn't get that. Well, what I could do is I could send an invitation. I'll do that. So if you're on the mailing list, then I'll send an invitation with the link. There's no enlightenment. There's no liberation. There's nothing going to happen. There's nothing to wait for. There's nothing to get. There's nothing to lose. There's nothing to have. And although that can sound nihilistic, that's the freedom. That's the peace, the rest, the love. No one has anything. What you've called yours isn't yours. There are the seeming things that you've called yours, but there was never a you to have them. There is never a you to have them. They're simply not owned. What we call possession, what we call ownership, is the illusion. It's the only illusion, really. The rest is simply as it is. And you can say what you like about it. It doesn't care. Life doesn't mind what you say. It doesn't even mind that you say that you own things, that you possess yourself, that you are in relationship. It doesn't mind. It's not that that's wrong. It's all innocent. All of it. Totally innocent. Completely free of responsibility. Not free of responses. They're absolutely natural. That's what's happening. Seeming responses. But no one's doing that. It is obvious. Too obvious. Life can't be this simple. Surely not. Someone asked me the other day what I meant by empty. Because I speak about emptiness quite a lot. And of course, I just try and come up with other words instead of empty to describe empty. What does that mean? I tell you what it means. It means fuck all. It doesn't mean shit. Empty. What's that mean? It's just very obvious that everything is empty. Empty of all the ideas, as well as all the ideas you have about whatever you're seeing, whatever's being heard, whatever's being felt, whatever thoughts are seemingly happening. It's all empty, as well as happening. So it's really empty of the meaning until I give it meaning. It's really empty of a name until I name it. It's empty of any meaning, any purpose, any significance until I give it that. I give it. I give meaning, purpose, significance to what's happening. But what's happening is essentially, absolutely empty of all of that. And that includes all of the meaning, purpose, and significance. All of that is completely empty. It doesn't have any worth, value. Unless I say so. And then I look to others to confirm that. So I'll find groups and friends who confirm my meaning, value, significance that I place on life. And the wonderful freedom is that there's nothing wrong with any of that. But the terrible news is there's nothing right with any of that. Everything is absolutely equal, a total equality in emptiness. So in that, the fullness, the happening, life is totally full. Is free to be full. There's not, okay, that fits my meaning, that fits my purpose, that fits my ideas of significance, and that doesn't. Everything is open. That's how it is, of course. That's just how it is, but that's not how it usually feels for self. Because self is always discriminating. Does that fit? Does that fit with my beliefs, my views, my morals, my ethics? And amazingly, the ethics, the views, the morals, the beliefs, they can exist absolutely freely when they're not mine, because there's no weight to them. It is paradoxical because they still matter, but they don't matter at all. Because they only really matter to me. But the mattering is absolutely natural. It just wasn't yours. It's never yours. In a very simple way, when it's obvious that what you called you, that is inside, is empty, and there's a sense of emptiness inside, and outside, all the things that you felt to be real, external reality, is completely empty. That's really why we might call what we're trying to convey, or what we're trying to share and speak of, why we might call it non-duality. It's a bit of a crap term, really, but we might say that's the end of the illusion of separation, that I am inside and everything else and everyone else is outside. Empty inside and empty outside. No inside or outside. That's the whole illusion, is that there is some boundary between me and everything else. There are no boundaries in emptiness, in spaciousness, in void. And void and abyss, of course, they're they're scary words, and yet emptiness is nothing to fear at all, quite literally. Absolutely literally. Nothing is nothing to fear. And yet, of course, for most selves, it's the greatest fear of all. There is no place for me in nothing. There is nowhere for me to stand in emptiness. Where am I in that, in this? You won't know. There is no knowing. You know, you spent a lifetime of trying to find your place in the world, to make a place for yourself. And that's the suffering. There really is no place. There's no place for you. And there, every place is home. And that's why it feels like rest. There's really nowhere to go. And in that, you can go anywhere, knowing that you never really travel, and that there's no movement. You still have the story of a journey, but there's really no journey and no traveler on the journey. You never left. There was no one to leave. And there's nowhere to arrive, and no one arrives. it's truly wonderful that no one arrives. It can sound, again, it can sound dreadful, but that's beautiful. There's nowhere to get to. Having tried so hard to get somewhere. So if you have any questions or you want to share anything, just put your hand up or ask a question in the chat or say something or just butt in. I don't mind.
Oh,
However
Michael.
you like to do it.
Michael has his hand up.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Tim. Do you consider what is commonly thought of as enlightenment to be also part of what we call the dream?
Do you mean what we're speaking of as enlightenment?
Yeah.
Are we calling what we're speaking of enlightenment?
Yeah.
Because I tend not to, but yeah, yeah, of course, it's yeah, it's just another story. So I tend not to say dream, I say story, but I guess it's the same, you know, it's different words for the same. Yeah, as soon as I'm trying to express that Tim's life used to be like this and now it's like this, then what else is that but storytelling? Yeah. There's no escape. There's no escape from the storytelling, is there? Unless we just sit in silence with each other. And even then, you know, you could be telling, you know, a thought story could be, is likely to be going on anyway. So
I think we are the story. When I had another question, when you speak of everything is just as it is, that seems to imply that there is an it.
Yeah, I know.
It's a hell of a problem.
I know. Yeah, it's very obvious there isn't an it, but you know, with the limitations of language, I try not to get too abstract about it, and it is fairly direct. So although it is misleading to a degree, yeah, because it's objectifying what we're talking about, and what we're talking about isn't objectifiable. If we're going to talk about it as anything, it as a word is as bland and as open, but it does sound final, doesn't it? You know, like you finally come to it, you found it, this is it, you know, I get what you mean. There is no it yet.
Can we see anything that isn't objectified?
No.
No.
Well, I don't know about see. No, not really. I think maybe, I don't know about seeing, you know, just visually, but we can't express it. No. I mean, I don't know about perception in terms of just pure, you could say pure perception without objectification, which is putting a name on it. But then I'm not sure about that. You know how a 1-year-old sees, you could say, without language. A 1-year-old can see, I guess, perfectly well.
Oh, do you see that perspective as totally missing, not available to us, that pure perception?
It isn't available now.
No.
No, it really isn't, because once you've got language, then, yeah, of course, the language colors everything.
Could you say that we are the languaging?
Well, I wouldn't say that, because, you know, yeah, maybe me and you are, Michael, but I look at my little boy who's just learning language, And of course, mostly it's empty of that, of what we're talking about as how we're engaging with life, or how there's an engagement with life and how we're seeing it, you could say. Yeah, there's no knowing of that. So all knowing, when we say what we know, it's language, yeah. But I wouldn't say that's what we are, no.
Thanks,
But
Tim.
there, I would say we just don't know what we are. But so, and what we know we are is the language, yeah.
Are we? When you say we can't know what we are, probably because we aren't.
Well, for me, they're almost the same. The two ways of saying the same. Yeah, you can't. There is no knowing what you are. That's almost the crux of everything that we're trying to speak of here. Is that whatever we are, whatever this being human is, we can't know it. No, of course we're being it. There's just being whatever it is, and how would you know? You'd have to stand apart, and there is no standing apart.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. So the illusion, I think the whole illusion of self is that I can stand apart, and then I can know from that vantage point of standing apart, then I can see in this it's from that detached point of detachment, then I can be God, basically. I'm the observer of all. And of course, it's a great lie. It's just not how life is. There's absolutely no way. Any detachment is a game of detachment.
Can we understand anything?
No.
No.
I think if I understood what I was trying to, what's being spoken, then there wouldn't be any speaking about it. And the freedom of which it's the sense I get of the value in speaking about this is freedom. Freedom from that absolutely insane, incessant need to know, that constant feeling of insecurity when I don't know. Freedom from that. And it is wonderful that it's when it's very obvious that all the ones you looked up to, all the masters, all the gurus, all the geniuses, they know no more. That's, oh, wow, that's love. There is the love, that they are just as innocent and beautifully innocent in their belief and their conviction that they really have some profound knowledge. That's wonderful. You don't look down on them. It's just you want to give them a hug, oh, bless you. You really think you know that, don't you? And that's really, it might sound, it can sound condescending, but it isn't like that at all. It's like everyone is the child. So you now see every adult as the 2-year-old, pretending they know what the hell they're doing, when it's very obvious they don't. They haven't got a clue. And in that, just like we love small children, you can love, I will say not everybody, not the complete arsehole. There will be some exceptions who just rub you up so badly the wrong way. You can't help that. But then again, that when you reject them, when there's a rejection of them, or I can't bear to be with them, that's absolutely innocent as well. And so there's love in that too. Yeah. By the way, when I'm saying about love, you know, there's something that doesn't take any effort at all. And it doesn't even have to feel like love. It's just, it's the innocence, really.
Heidi has a hand up.
Heidi. Hello, Heidi.
Hi, Tim. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. So my thoughts run with me in this direction with the idea, then nothing is graspable.
No.
Absolutely nothing is graspable. And what's grasped is me. Something like that. I'm not sure, but then the thought was, if I'm arriving on this point, so this is the point when I try to find the needle in the haystack, for example, or if I try to put the nail in the sky.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also it's then a point more that's not even a point. Mm-hmm. Something like that in this direction.
Yeah.
It went with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, as you said, it feels freed.
It does feel
absolutely. Yeah.
free.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
So,
thanks, Heidi.
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
When I was seeking, I loved it when I had what I felt was a breakthrough of insight or understanding. Yeah. Oh my God, I would be ecstatic. I would, you know, think I'm really getting there. And that is just like putting a nail, you know. I can really hang something on that, you know. And then, of course, what happens is, just as you think is securely in the wall, it just falls out of the wall. You know, the nail you've had, oh shit, that wasn't it. That's fallen out. That's useless. So you move on and you find another nail.
Yeah. And I have also the picture in my head, the Vorhänge, the things you put before your windows to get out the light. I don't know the English word for Vorhang. So
shutters.
Shutters. You hang them up step by step by step for closing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it is closed, you say, and where's the landscape? Something like that.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's nice.
So many different pictures that pops up then. But it's not enough, for sure not. But it's nice to nice to let it out like that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thanks, Tim.
Is it Chirag? Is that how you say it? He has his hand up. Yeah.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Chirag.
Okay. So I don't really have a question, but it's kind of I just want to share something and then see if you have to add something to that.
Okay.
So ever since I have started listening to this message, and I keep on listening to your videos and other non-duality speakers' videos quite often. I mean, and after that, out of nothing, I mean, sometimes if I'm just working on my laptop or doing something else, I suddenly notice that my mind, not my mind, but let me say I have started imagining, I mean, that I have become quote unquote enlightened. Mm-hmm. And I have also become a non-duality speaker. I am, holding this kind of meetings. People are attending my meetings.
Yeah.
They are asking me questions, very tough questions.
How does it feel when you fantasize that then, Chirag? How is that going? How is that speaking fantasy going for you?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, see, the funny thing is that I don't even know what kind of answers would I give. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I fantasize. I'm giving some very intelligent and witty answers, and people are.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and then what happens is that suddenly I kind of notice that that's what I've been doing. I'm fantasizing this.
Yeah.
And the same me, which was till now fantasizing, now start feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
That, hey, what are you doing? Have you gone mad?
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that. So it looks to me that the me is already suffering from multiple personality disorder. I mean, there is
yeah. But Chirag, I can console you easily with that. You and everyone else. There is no such thing as a personality which self has. Self is absolutely full of every self is multi-personality.
Yeah.
Well, you just think, oh, if you're having a conversation with yourself, well, there's two of you to start with, and usually there's a third and a fourth self comes in and just chips in. You know, there's no end to that. Yeah. But I can say you haven't got to worry about that. I remember I would sit in front of Tony Parsons and think, he's pretty good. I really love him, but I would probably be better.
Yeah.
And I'm not even joking.
And the funny thing is that Tim, in this kind of meeting, I can share this kind of thing, but how arrogant we have become. I mean, just imagine we cannot share this kind of small things with our family and friend, even though we know that even they are doing the same, but then still we feel like, what would that person think about me?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the freedom would be, I will say, there is absolutely the thing that I wasn't prepared for was absolutely not knowing, you know, that. So I was waiting until I knew I was enlightened or I was liberated. I use the word liberation, so that's what I was waiting for, and I was waiting until I'd know that. And of course, that is the fantasy. There is no knowing of that. There is nothing to know.
Mm.
So what I waited for did not arrive.
Yeah.
And seemingly that's what I was waiting for. It wasn't what I wanted, though. Because of course I could only imagine that I would know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Once it happened, then I would know, and I would, you know, then I would speak from a position of knowledge that now I know what I'm speaking about, and in a way it's the complete opposite, but it's nothing at all, really. Not really.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Tim.
Because I'm loath to make it sound too humble, you know, like it's great humility, because of course humility is, without a doubt, not for everyone, but for most selves, humility is arrogance in disguise. There's no doubt about that. Some of the most arrogant people I've known are very proud of their humility. So you don't worry about humble or arrogant, or that's just, I have to say, freedom from that self-consciousness and the worry about how you appear to sound or how you're coming across, which I was always very aware of that.
Yeah.
So you do notice that you're not self-conscious anymore. That you do notice. You notice that change.
Now the thing is, it's not noticed unless you ask me to try and notice it, and then if I try and notice it, then there's nothing to notice. That's how it is. So I didn't notice. You could say when there was no self-consciousness, that wasn't, that could be because it's just nothing, it's empty. it's just another empty. So, but if you ask me, is there a self-consciousness? It can appear. It's not that it's not totally void. It can appear, but I mean, it just literally appears and gone again. Because I think it's just habitual. I mean, there isn't a self to be conscious of, but that habit of, I must be guarded in how I appear. I've got to look after I've got to look after my image. I've got to, you know, it's all about playing safe. That's really what self is, you know, playing to appear as, to give the best impression of myself.
Yeah, so similar to what the other guy was saying when he was fantasizing, I was thinking that in a similar way, like the other day when I went to work, I was like, when I walked in and I was like pretending that the self-consciousness wasn't there. So like, I just thought to myself, like, and of course this is, Joel, just a story, you know.
Yeah.
But I had the thought like, oh, well, if this is all empty and this, like, this is meaningless and nobody cares how I look or what I'm doing, and like, this is all meaningless, and wow, this is so much better. Like, it felt like, oh, I want to feel like this, like, for real, and not be self-conscious at all. If this is just happening, this is all just happening, then I don't need to worry about what people think of me or saying the right thing or doing the right thing.
Yeah, because I mean, with that, even as an outlook, that self can be less self-conscious with that.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
But it was fun and I liked it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I used to, I mean, because I was a teacher, and there would be certain classes I would be dreading, and I would always do a rehearsal with myself to try and G myself up for it. And I used to do a lot of act as if. So I'd act as if I was confident. I'd act as if I wasn't self-conscious, even though underneath I was terrified. You know, you can use that as a strategy. That's really quite useful. That's not what we're talking about, but that can be really helpful. Yeah, it can be.
And that's all just happening too.
Yeah. Well, there isn't anything that's happening that's not happening, is there, Jira? That's it, really. You know, so what somebody said, well, what do you mean what's happening? I went, well, what's happening? And they went, well, I'm seeing that, I'm hearing that, I'm thinking that, I'm feeling this. Yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah, all of that. Everything. It's far too simple. There is only ever what is, you could say what's appearing or what's happening or what seems to be going on. However, whatever phrase. But you can't pin it down. You can't put the nail in the wall and say, ah, now I've got it. It's not like that at all. And of course, when you're looking for this as though it's something that's lost or missing or something that needs to be found, then of course you're waiting, just like a DIY, you're waiting to put the shelves up, and you like to put the shelves up and look how far I've got. It's like you're building furniture. But there really is no wall to hit the nails into. There's nothing to hang anything on.
Tim.
Hi, who's that? Joey.
Joey.
Hello, mate.
Hey. When you shared that story, I had something popped into my mind. I have a friend who's she's 21 years old, and she never went to college or anything, and she became editor of this pretty prominent publication. And she used to call me terrified. She's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. When I'm terrified, I act really confident. And so everybody else around me believes it. So, and she was like, I'm terrified. I don't know what to do. All these people that have been in the business in public, for decades, and they're reporting to me. She's anyway, but the thing that I was going to say, I think it is the noticing. My sense is that it is the noticing that disappears. Because what happened, correct me if I'm wrong, but what happens here is that, like, for example, yesterday I went through my day, and it was, the way I can describe it is, more or less, everything is just completely two-dimensional. And even if I was working, so even if I was reaching for something, it wasn't as if my hand was going away. It was like all a reflection on water. It was like no depth to anything.
Right.
Very, very simple. But then something comes in on top of it, sort of like behind of somewhere here, there, and it says, oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. And then it goes away. So it was like this game of cat and mouse that was, meanwhile, nothing was really happening. It was ordinary, selling fucking bread. But it's just, there's all this game of cat and mouse of trying to catch it. That is which is try to catch it or notice it or capture it. Yeah. It's the disappearance of that. So how can anything really notice it? How can anything really know that anything had happened?
No, you don't. No, that's really what's trying to be conveyed. Is I haven't noticed anything new. Apart from everything's new. But there, everything is always new,
Well, yeah, that's what it is. It feels like it's like Christmas morning all the time or something.
Yeah, but you're not getting the presents you asked for. You're just getting what you're given.
Yeah, and
you know the poor kids who got an orange and a few nuts for Christmas, and all they wanted, they wanted a Scale Extra racing car set. This is my childhood I'm talking now. And,
Tim, can you let Darren back in, please?
Well, have I chucked him out?
I think he dropped out accidentally.
Did he? I think if he's gone, he'll have to stay out. No, I'm joking. Where is he? How did that happen? Sorry, Joey. I'm just going to have to take the piss out of Darren a little bit for leaving the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel I've got to, really. What kind of co-host is that?
I know, isn't that bad? My computer froze up. It's very unusual, actually. It just suddenly froze on me.
Well,
I got blocked out.
No, that's really. I think you've done it deliberately just to make me feel better, because.
Yeah.
It's not me for a change.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Joey. Go on.
No, that's it. It was just the newness is that for me. It's that. And listen, I'm here as much as any other person, but when there's that sense of it, it's that excitement about it or something. Yeah.
But remember, I mean, the whole message is, Joey, that you're not. You do know that's the message. You have heard it a few times. You're not. But it just feels that way. That if it feels that way, that is how it is. That's all.
Yeah, it's like the way the fat guys wears his trousers, or the way that or the way that somebody's doing awkward exercises in a park. It's just that intangible.
I love those two analogies. They're not ones that I'm going to use. You've conjured up two unpleasant images. Yeah. There's just no knowing. That's it. And whatever's known, there's no knowing who knows it, how it's known. why it's known. So whatever you say that's known, you know, the stuff we do know. Like Michael was saying, that's maybe who we are. Well, I don't have a sense of that really, because it's that's all empty, all that knowledge, all that we say we know. It's beautifully empty. It just doesn't mean anything. That's whereas for me, it's life and death. It's really important. What I know, I'm telling you what I know, and that's important. Well, the wonderful news is it really is utterly insignificant. How beautiful is that? So, you know, the one that worried about not knowing enough, the one that worried about not achieving enough, the one that always compared themselves unfavorably or favorably, you know, either way, up or down, it's all shit. This is absolutely flat. There's no one better or worse than anyone else. Look around and you just see wonderfully ordinary human beings, completely unique and absolutely ordinary. But most of them are completely and utterly self-absorbed, living in a terribly fearful, narrow, when the view of life or perspective of life or life is so narrow, because I'm at the center of it, and this completely free, anarchic happening is just revolving around me. That's the lie. There's nothing revolving around you.
And we require, I'm sorry, just one, we require people to follow somebody that knows, that tells us they know, because then it'll give us direction.
Yeah.
Provide us safety, whether it's,
Yeah.
Hitler or a guru or whoever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, because at heart, every self is a small child. It's all looking for daddy. It's not by chance that the Christian God is called Father. That's not by chance. That's what self is called, God. He'll look after me. He'll care for me. He'll keep me safe. And this is utterly, utterly insecure. And in that total insecurity is the only security. Otherwise, you're always craving. Self is always craving more safety. Keep me safe. The only freedom, the only security is no security at all. None. And the no security is the unknowable, the obvious fact that this can't be known. And this is all there is. You can say you know little tiny little bits about it, and then they're gone. And life couldn't care less about your pathetic, puny knowledge. I mean, don't get me wrong, when I say couldn't care less, it's completely indifferent. It doesn't even recognize, it wouldn't know what you're talking about with your knowledge, what you know. The only the only ones that are interested are the other selves, who can either look down on you for being inferior or look up to you for your superior knowledge and understanding. There is simply no higher or lower. Everything is absolutely equal. everything.
Heidi has a hand up.
Heidi,
That or no, the other one,
the other Heidi.
because we have to. Yeah. So it's meant.
It's you, Heidi. Yeah.
Ah, okay, great. Okay. So it walks then again in my head as I started, and the point was I have a no, I don't have. I am a character like this who is following the thoughts, and I feel this is not bad. This is not a problem. So I can let go the thoughts like that. But I can see also it's not me who's seeing that stories are built upon this running with, and this makes me a little bit crazy inside. It's a vibrating feeling of, oops, if I decide just a little bit, then I am anchored. I'm then there's me.
Yeah.
And there's it's making crazy a little bit.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see you're crazy. I didn't mean that.
No.
What I mean is, I remember that. That's
Yeah.
that. Well, there is when self-love's knowledge. I do feel anchored. I feel grounded. Because you could say the ground that I stand on is I stand on knowledge and understanding. That's the ground. That's the ground of self, you could say. That's the illusion that I am standing on the ground. And the ground that I stand on is I know the ground that I'm standing on.
Yeah.
And I know the ground and I know me.
Yeah.
And then that I have you could say a false sense of security. But of course, that false sense of security is the very suffering that throughout the ages that spirituality and religion has always spoken of. That you could get rid of it, but of course you can't get rid of it. You are the very need for that security, for that ground.
So my point is, for all, I think this sometimes makes really a problem in my head. My point is that I never left this ground. I had all the time, as I was a child, the idea, what are you telling all? I am not interested in how you are seeing how it has to work, how it works, how we have to do it like this, then it works. I wasn't never ever interested in this. And then I've seen that as far as I went, I became elder and elder. I had to learn a little bit how to arrange me inside of these stories like that. And it's so fascinating that I see, I did it maybe the last 15 years that I tried to come into the story, but it do not works. It really do not works. I'm forcing completely. All the rooms I went in, I have to left new. I do not, I'm not making this, but I can see it. Okay, I can sit there and I can blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's over. I cannot bedienen, I cannot donate this anymore.
No.
Yeah. That's a little piece of what happens. Yeah.
Thanks, Heidi.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott.
Hey, Tim. Hey, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I saw what you wrote on Facebook, and it stimulated me, but I'm not really sure what you meant. I wanted to ask you about the journey and stillness are the same.
Oh, yeah. I sort of touched on it a bit earlier, didn't I? Did I? Can't remember. So what I'd say is the journey is the story. So that's the story of my life. And
And the stillness?
And the journey is that you never moved. There was no journey, but there's a, so it's just another way, I guess. When I write stuff, it just comes out. I don't necessarily know what I'm writing. I mean, that is true.
It's a match. It can, you know, it
But
lights.
what I'd say is it's almost exactly the same as saying there's just what's happening, and what's happening is nothing happening. So the nothing happening is the stillness, and the happening is the journey.
I mean, it's funny because from the body mind point of view, it's linear. It's like we're going from A to B. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, if I step out of that story, it's going to be not linear but exponential. But it's not even that. It's just from linear to everything at once. There's no steps.
No.
And we wanted there to be steps so we could see it explode or something.
Yeah.
And there's no place to hang the nails. There's no nails. There's nothing.
No, absolutely. This is the end of layers, the end of steps, the end of expansion, the end of contraction, the end, all of those, every single bit of that is just a story.
Yeah. I mean, the streets have no names. There's just nothing. But in a way, there was nothing that was ever going to satisfy us. I mean, we couldn't just eat all the time or think all the time. We're so hungry that only everything and all the paradoxes and everything being completely impossible to understand was ever going to feed us. I mean, there's.
I can't emphasize enough that this, what I'm speaking of, is not satisfaction. It's not that I've got what now is completely satisfied. It's the end of the one who could be satisfied or dissatisfied. And in that, satisfaction and dissatisfaction freely appear, just as they would have done. But without, it's so paradoxical, but without them being my satisfaction or my dissatisfaction. That's why I always keep coming back to the word empty, because it's as good as I've got to try and express that all of those feelings, all of that, all of the storytelling, you know, there can still be steps, there can still be appearance of steps, but it's all completely empty. So there are no steps, but there are still steps. There is no progress. It could still look like progress. There is no satisfaction. Can feel like satisfaction.
There's no satisfaction, but it seems to be satisfied in itself, without
Yeah,
you
but it's
or telling it that it's wrong or that it needs to get somewhere or you need to go faster. Yeah. Without all the storying, it just seems to be able to sit in itself and go.
Yeah. Oh no, there's a lot of yeah. There's it's massive relief, but I will say the relief seems to have been in my story, in the story here, in Tim's story. The relief was in contrast to the desperate seeking. You know, that was the relief. It was in contrast, and this seemingly, I don't like to talk about how this changes over time, but it does seem to. The relief is just.
No more questions.
It wouldn't even register as relief anymore, because I mean, it's almost an effort to remember. And the remembering is just storytelling. This is all storytelling. I mean.
But do you feel a little touchy when the story, like, I don't know if I'm, you know, I just lost my skin or something. It's like the TV just makes me insane, because I can see how highly manipulative it is. If I meet people who are like, oh, you're happy, I'm going to teach you a lesson, that's like red flags. Yeah. It's like I'm extra sensitive to manipulation now, whereas before, I was like, oh, I could swim here. You know, now it's just like, oh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it becomes much more obvious that that's what's happening. That's what's going on. You can see, there's less likelihood to be playing those kind of games. There's no, I'm not playing anymore.
Well,
It's
you
like
never-
it's like you pick up your ball and you go home.
Yeah, I like that. It's like you wouldn't leave this non-separation. You don't get out of the pool anymore to go help other people. Even helping people seems to me like some weird story I was telling myself. Like what was that about? It was like the height of arrogance, but
yeah. Well, there can be helping other people, but it won't be to make you feel better anymore, Scott.
I know. I think I have to like separate that. Fine.
No, I mean that there can be, you know, it will just be naturally how Scott Tully is without himself, trying to do what he thinks would make him feel good about himself. But you know, that's how it naturally is. There could well be helping people, yeah, but it won't be, I suggest, I don't know, but it won't be to make Scott feel better about himself, though.
Yeah, I think I'd feel pretty shitty.
Well, you won't do it then.
No, I mean, if I had to do it for that reason.
Oh yeah.
It hurts me right now to be, and I was part of a community where it was, you know, like the common theme was we're saving the world, we're helping people, you know, we're doing good, and now it just, I hope it goes past me, but it just seems to be, it has a certain flavor.
Yeah, well, there is, I think for most cells who come to this as an understanding or as a annihilation or however you want to call it, as a falling away, then there is a sort of rebound, a reaction against, okay, that's how self was. I can't go near that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you get to see the me and all, even when he was trying to be his most, you know, sweetly prince.
Yeah.
It's like you were worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Whatever you felt most self-righteous about doing, there could well be a revulsion in doing that now.
I hope so.
Yeah, I can, yeah. But of course, there's no rules about it at all. There are no rules, full stop.
But it is funny how he tries to sneak under the gate. You know, it's just,
yeah,
whatever.
And just to jump in as well, it doesn't mean that there wouldn't be enjoyment in helping somebody. My friend lost his job this week, and I put him in touch with somebody else, and it looks like he was being made redundant. It looks like he's going to get a job. And there was great enjoyment in that. I really enjoyed that, being able to help. Yeah.
Oh, no, I think, no, human beings, the vast majority, are just naturally compassionate and helpful and social and sociable and loving. That's human beings. It's self the selfish, don't forget.
Yeah.
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 And of course, don't get me wrong, that selfishness can manifest itself as being incredibly helpful in a very, very annoying and making everyone else feel shit about their inept level of helpfulness. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's never you that's helpful. It's never you that's anything. That's obvious. And so if you're naturally a helpful character, if that's how your character is, then that'll still happen. But there could be, as Scott says, there could be a flip where you go, I'm not touching any of that. That makes me actually feel physically sick.
Maybe it's just a phase.
It's all a phase, Scott. There are no phases, and it's all a phase.
Yeah.
How wonderful that everything changes, though. You know, whatever you're stuck in. I mean, that is. I mean, that's such a cliche, but.
What's funny, Tim, you go and get your haircut and you get to play in, oh, things change now, you know, like, I just got some glasses. It's like, or women with their hair or their clothes. It's like we're playing in this, oh, I'm the one who gets to decide that things change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, everything else has changed on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, everything is constant. The only constant is change. Lovely cliche.
Yeah. Anyway.
Which is the appearance. The appearance constantly changes, and nothing never changes. Nothing can't change. Emptiness can't change.
It's kind of boring. I could see why the mind goes back into like, let's play for a while. I mean, it's like,
yeah. Well, what's in it for me? That's always the question. So what is in this message for me? Nothing. The message is nothing. There's nothing in it for you. You're going to get nothing. You've already got nothing. You are nothing. Doesn't sound, it's not a great seller. My mates, you know, most of my mates, I've still got a few left over from my, you know, my real life. And as opposed to you lot. And there's a few I've still got. And they go, well, why would anyone, because they, you know, they've had a look. They haven't bought the book, although I've told them all to. I played golf with, you know, normal farmers, builders, bank managers, you know, normal human beings. And what are you doing now, Tim? Well, I'm holding these Zoom meetings twice a week, and I've written a book. And then I just touch on what it's about, and they go, so what are people getting out of that, out of it? And I go, well, nothing. And at that point, the conversation stops. And we never touch on it ever again. Ever.
Tim,
so we
my
just
husband
then
calls it
play
mental
golf, drink
masturbation.
beer. Hey, sorry.
I said my husband calls it mental masturbation. He's
You
like,
could,
what are you doing? What are you listening to? Why?
well, you could say that, but I mean, I would say that's not what this is. Not that. I mean, that's philosophy for me. Philosophers are the biggest wankers as far as I'm concerned. Non-duality is down the hierarchy somewhat. If you really want to do it, you want to do ethics or philosophy or what's the study of religion called? I've even forgotten what the word is.
Theology.
Theology. Now they're the wankers.
My friends called it crazy camp.
Oh yeah, crazy Cam.
Yeah, when I used to go to the residential, where are you going? Oh, you're going to crazy camp again.
Crazy Cam, yeah, with all the loons. Yeah. Well, he wasn't wrong, was he? Really? I mean, this is absolutely crazy for self. Of course it is. That's why, you know, you should be a little bit wary of who you speak to about it. That's why I've only ever had one conversation with each of my normal mates. Apart from one who's got quite interested. Poor bugger. Yeah. Well, lovely to see you all. I've gone over time again. I've been enjoying these meetings too much, and my scheduled hour has become an hour and 15 the last 3 meetings I've noticed, but that's fine. So I've got a meeting on Wednesday if you would like to come.
What is that? Is that the nothing people?
No, it's not. It's translated into Bulgarian. It's not for everyone, but I don't know. There's something about that because there's a lot of space in it.
It's nothing in Bulgarian.
Yeah. It's quite, I mean, I really quite enjoy listening to, you know, nonsense. I love it because I say there's words come out and then there's words come back. And of course, I haven't got a clue what, you know, it's just nonsense coming back. And it's just the same as whether you understand it or not. It's no different.
The Bulgarian lady, she is great.
Yeah, Luciana,
yeah.
So that's Wednesday, and then there'll be another meeting on Thursday, and I'll send an invitation out to those of you who on the list. Thanks very much for coming, everybody. Lovely to see you all.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Take care.
Thank you,
Bye,
Tim.
Tim. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.